What if the world never settled on time zones? Picture a planet where every city keeps its own clock, where noon in Lisbon is not the same as noon in Lagos or Shanghai, where schedules drift like weather fronts and calendars become a patchwork quilt of local rhythms. This isn't a fantasy so much as a consequence of turning away from a single global dial. In such a world, every train, every flight, every broadcast has to explain not just where it is going, but when its clock believes it is. Port towns learn to read tides and bells from their own city's sun, while inland capitals juggle markets with a chorus of local hours. Shipping lanes still need coordination, but without a shared timetable, they survive on the friction of local time. A cargo ship that leaves one port at dawn will find its departure recorded differently when it reaches the next harbor. And a navigator who assumes the destination is a single day away must recalculate not in hours, but in the distance between sun positions and city bells. The result is slower, more artisanal in cadence, richer in color, and messier in scale. It breeds ingenuity in the margins. Clever couriers who translate a timetable into a map of moments, and digital planners that stitch together gazetteers from dozens of cities into a living compass. In everyday life, the effect is intimate and surprising. A family that schedules a dinner across the border learns to plan around signals, a simple meal becoming a ritual of trust where the clock becomes an instrument of patience rather than a device demanding obedience. Schools, hospitals, and theaters cling to their own rhythms, with people negotiating time zones the way travelers once negotiated currencies. And as weddings, elections, or storms approach, communities gather not at a single moment, but at a chorus of moments that echo across districts and coastlines. Science and technology rotate around this cadence differently. Without a universal time, the practice of logging experiments becomes a more collaborative art, where researchers publish their data with local timestamps and colleagues must translate measurements across cities to compare results. Satellites still collect data, but their signals arrive with local context attached, and scientists learn to exchange conclusions through a web of regional timeframes rather than a single global minute. The internet still anchors the world, but every data packet carries a dossier about its place and its clock, a memory of where it began and when that began, in a way that makes time feel alive, not abstract. The social order is transformed by rhythm as much as by rule. Politics no longer moves toward a single moment of decision, but unfolds as a sequence of synchronized acts across many clocks. International diplomacy becomes a choreography of ceremonies that signal intent through the cadence of local noons, rather than the solemn tick of a distant standard. Markets grow bolder in their experimentation because risk is not a single good or bad outcome measured at once, but a tapestry of localized outlooks that converge through a shared faith in human adaptability. And culture itself blossoms in the spaces between times. Poets who write in the gaps between sunrises. Filmmakers who stitch scenes from different cities as if stitching a quilt. Gamers who race across time zones by catching brief, imperfect overlaps. Yet the absence of a single universal dial is not merely a constraint. It reshapes memory itself. People remember not a fixed date, but a date plus the clock of the city where they stood. The past becomes a chorus of regional timestamps, and history feels closer to a council of elders who speak in many voices rather than a single chorus. In this world, a crisis reveals a deeper truth. Coordination is not a product of one perfect clock, but of many humans who learn to read each other's times. When a storm lashes a coastline and a lab must respond, the response is born of the willingness to translate and to trust, rather than to impose. In the end, it arrives at a quiet, almost hopeful possibility. Imagine a future where we preserve local tempos but invent a universal etiquette of time. A global network of time beacons, broadcasting the exact time in every major city at regular moments, would let ships keep their local life while governments align when needed most. It would be a confidence built not on the domination of a single time, but on a practiced fluency in many. The world would hum with countless clocks, each honest in its own moment, yet together they sing a chorus that keeps civilizations moving. What if the world never settled on time zones? And what if that choice did not fracture us, but taught us to listen more closely to the tempo of life? The answer would be a different kind of progress, one that measures time not in hours chained to a single line, but in the capacity to coordinate across many lines, to honor local rhythms while stepping forward together when it matters most.